is Gang Green Blitz with your host, Joe Mauceri.
Well, there is no one more popular on an NFL team that is losing than the backup quarterback. And Jets fans, you will finally have your chance to see Tyrod Taylor under center. Ryan Dunleavy, NFL reporter for the New York Post. You've said it since before the season started, Ryan. The Jets have the best chance to win with Tyrod Taylor under center. Why now is this change finally happening for Gang Green?
It just became too much, Joe. I mean, every week is like under 100 passing yards. I think he got to 121 last week, but that's just not feasible in today's NFL, especially now they have these new receivers, John Mechie, Adonai Mitchell, Mason Taylor's developing, Arian Smith's developing. You need, forget winning, Joe. You need to be able to get evaluations on these guys and what they can do by having some sort of downfield passing threat. So just for the sake of Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn's evaluations of other players, you need a quarterback who can feed them the ball so you can find out what the other guys are made of, these young players. So I think it's really honestly just about getting everybody else in a position to succeed so you could find out what the strengths and weaknesses of your new and young players are.
All right. So you look at this here, and the Jets right now are in a position where it's all about next season. But this season, part of the evaluation was going to be, well, let's evaluate Justin Fields and what he can be. I know he wasn't a finished product coming here. I think he was better than he was before he came here. Did the Jets cause Justin Fields to regress this season?
Yeah, a lot of players are better than they are before they come to the Giants and the Jets. Like that's like a theme around the NFL. You come to New York and get worse. So look, he was never very good. Okay, he had the one season where he ran for 1,000 yards, but with the Bears, but he was never a good passer. It was always a projection. It was always based on athletic ability. It was always about traits. He's never been a very good quarterback. Dual threat, implies that in addition to running, you can throw, and he really is not a good passer. So did he get worse here? Yeah, but he probably also played with maybe his worst cast, even worse than the Bears cast, and obviously had rookie coaching and including offensive coordinator, and he got worse, but it's not like he was significantly better. Like he maybe went from, like let's use Madden ratings, Joe. He went from like a 70. He went from like a 70 to a 68. You know what I mean? Like it's not like we're talking about a guy who was a 90 and became a 70.
Do you think that there's a role for him on this team as, say, like a slash, like a Cordell Stewart for the rest of the season here? And would he even adapt to something like that?
Well, that's what I was going to say. If he's open to it, there could be that could be a way to utilize his strengths. But a lot of quarterbacks really don't want any part of that, because once you get put in that box, then it's hard to get out of that box. Then how is he going to get a job next year as a starting quarterback, which he probably won't, but it's hard to tell him that. Or even as a number 2 quarterback, once you're put in that Taysom Hill box, you never really get to go back to being a full-time quarterback.
Yeah, but Taysom Hill is beloved in New Orleans. He is a cult hero down there. He'll have a career forever. He'll never pay for a meal when he goes out in the Big Easy. I don't think that's going to be the case for Justin Fields anywhere in his NFL career. He's going to have to go back to Ohio State there if he wants to get the meals paid for.
Yeah, but he isn't also. But Taysom Hill isn't getting a quarterback's 2-year, $40 million contract either.
Very true. Very true. All right, so let's talk about the backup here. A guy who has been number 2 for a long time, not just here with the Jets, but everywhere he's been. Tyrod Taylor, officially the starting quarterback for Gang Green. What does he look to do here down the home stretch of the season?
Chaos. That's what he's going to bring. He's going to bring chaos, right? He makes plays with his feet, but he doesn't have a great sense of when to slide, so he leaves himself open to big hits and then to injuries and to injury tent breaks, and then he pushes the ball downfield. He's not an interception machine like, say, a Jameis Winston, but he is aggressive. I mean, he will throw the ball downfield and challenge you vertically. So that will keep people honest. I mean, if I was Arian Smith, the speedster rookie for the Jets, I'd be super excited because you're going to get some go routes. Yeah, I would say that, and more than anything, Tyrod is one of the better leaders I've been around as a quarterback. So obviously this is 2-9. That's when guys start coming up with mysterious injuries. That's when guys start making business decisions. That's when, veteran players start to think about their contract and next year. So if I'm Aaron Glenn, I want Tyrod Taylor around because he's been through those situations in a lot of different places. He knows the warning signs. He knows how to sniff them out. And, one of those guys who, look, if 34-year-old Tyrod can make sacrifices for the team, then so can I.
Yeah, I believe Sauce Gardner, when he was still here, said Tyrod Taylor was aura farming. So he's got an impact on the young kids on this team. He's got an impact on the veterans from what he's done out there. Look, I'm a Tyrod Taylor supporter. I've liked him everywhere he's been, going back to his days in Buffalo, even when he was with Baltimore. I think that this guy has gotten kind of the short end of the stick everywhere he went. I feel like they maybe Nathan Peterman was one of the guys that he got benched for up in Buffalo. I mean, you look what happened in with the Chargers. This doctor stabs him in the lung with a needle here. When you look at his career, how do you reflect on Tyrod Taylor getting to this point here?
To me, he's the ultimate bad luck, short straw quarterback. I mean, he made the playoffs with Buffalo. They bumped him out of town. Obviously, that was the right decision. They went with Josh Allen, but they bumped him out of town. He got traded to Cleveland. He was the starter, got a very short rope. They bumped him out of town for Baker Mayfield. He went to the Chargers. He was supposed to be the starter. Like you said, he had the medical mishap. Justin Herbert took over, never gave that job back. He went to Houston, was supposed to be the starter. I think he maybe did start for a couple games. They benched him for Davis Mills. Yeah. Then he came to the Giants. He knew he was going to be Daniel Jones' backup, but Daniel Jones had an injury history, so he's going to play. He gets on the field. He plays pretty well. He gets hurt. The Giants go to Tommy DeVito. Cutlets happens. Tyrod doesn't get the job back, even though he's obviously better than Tommy Cutlets. Yep. So, wherever he's better than Fields, he's been sitting behind him. Almost like I was saying with Fields a minute ago, Joe, is like once you become a slash, you get put in a box. Well, once you become a backup quarterback, you get put in a box. Yeah,
they play the game 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. I feel like for movies, we could play 6 Degrees of Tyrod Taylor for the NFL. Especially in modern times. I feel like he's touched everybody here. All right, well, speaking of finding out the potential for next year, there were some fans who were calling for Brady Cook here to get some play. But it's going to be Tyrod for now. What do you think about the leash for Tyrod this time around? And do you think there's a chance that we see Brady Cook get some reps here so they can evaluate what they have at number 3 quarterback, or does that not matter?
No, I think that's possible. I think it's too early for that. I mean, people forget it's November. You and I were just talking before he came on, Joe. It's November 17th. There are still 7 more games of this. So, I think
that feels like a slog.
Yeah, I think it's too early to go. That's like a third of the 40% of the season. So, I would say it's too early to go to Brady Cook. Now, look, if Tyrod's winning games, they'll stay with him. If he's not, they'll probably go, this is how this goes. They're probably going to end up having to go back to Justin Fields at some point. Tyrod will, bang his head, need a concussion check and, or twist his ankle or something. That's just how the NFL goes. You need 3 quarterbacks now in the NFL. You can't get away with 2 quarterbacks anymore because most teams end up playing 3 because of injuries. So I would think Brady Cook will play at some point. Probably, you're talking week 15, 16, 17, 18, something like that. He'll probably get into a game. I mean, the Giants have already used 3. My 8 years, I bet the Jets have used 3 or 4 more often than they haven't used 3 or 4. So you're probably going to see Cook at some point. And it also depends how Justin Fields reacts to this. Like Russell Wilson across town has been a good soldier and is demotion a 3rd-string quarterback. Justin Fields might not love this. We've seen situations where Marcus Mariota or other guys basically were like, no, I don't want to be the backup quarterback. So, is there a chance Brady Cook could be put ahead of him later in the season? I think there's a chance, yeah.
All right, so obviously the Jets are going to be looking for a quarterback this offseason. They have a ton of draft capital. You start to look at the quarterback class coming out of college or potentially coming out of college because they can make a lot of money there now too. What do you think the Jets end up doing this offseason? Are they going to go out and draft somebody? Is there a name you like, a name you're hearing? And if not, are they trading? Is there a guy you see that could shake loose, or a free agent who might be here next year?
The guy that they're attached to right now the most often is Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback. They obviously had a large contingent at Penn State for his game against Penn State 2 weeks ago. Mendoza made an incredible game-winning throw, touchdown pass in that game. I mean, that's a good way to leave an impression. Obviously, they have tons more work to do. At this time last year, the Giants loved Shedeur Sanders, and obviously we know how that worked out. So there's a ton of work to do still on the quarterback class for the Jets. The name they're attached to most is Mendoza, but I also think there's a possibility that they can do some things. They could buy themselves time, especially if some of the guys they like, Dante Moore at Oregon, for example, goes back to school. I wouldn't rule out a situation where the Jets just try another one of these. It won't be Justin Fields, but another one of these Justin Fields rent a quarterback for a year, get me to the next year situations. Is that Kirk Cousins? Is that Mac Jones? Is that somebody like that, just to get me to another year? And then you have 3 first-round picks in the loaded 2027 draft class. If you know that Woody Johnson is going to give you time, I don't hate that strategy.
You don't think there's any trauma or scars from the Justin Fields experiment that prevents them from going that route?
I mean, there's trauma or scars. Haven't covered this league long enough. Everybody has traumas and scars from something. Somewhere along the line, Muji and Glenn have scars from rookies. Somewhere along the lines, they have scars from the Justin Fields. Somewhere along the lines, they have scars from pocket passers and athletic quarterbacks. And you just got to treat everybody differently.
All right. Well, it's amazing how the 49ers always seem to make their quarterback work. We'll see what happens with Mac Jones out there as well. I think some teams are going to have their eye on him, but again, that 49er system always seems to make things work. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the new kids on the block. Can Mechie and AD make their mark on this team before the season is out? We're going to discuss it when the Gang Green Blitz returns.
Welcome back to Gang Green Blitz.
Well, it's time to evaluate the talent on the roster as the Jets start to look toward next season. Hi, I'm Joe Mauceri. Welcome back to the Gang Green Blitz. Joining us each and every week here on the show, NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy. All right, Ryan, we got to see some of the trades that Gang Green made before the deadline take the field this week, as we saw both John Mechie and A.D. Mitchell against the Patriots. It's last week at this point. But when you look at their performance here, obviously AD was in the spotlight a little bit for some of the drops or miscues with the quarterback. What did you make of his performance here, and what's the potential ceiling for a guy like that here in New York?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a boomer bust kind of guy. That's who he was coming out of the draft. I think that's probably who he still is. Anybody who doesn't know, he had a touchdown that he cost himself in Indianapolis earlier this season when he dropped the ball just short of the goal line. That got him in the doghouse. But he made the play to get down to the goal line. So Jets don't get down to the goal line very often. Malachi Corley did the same thing for the Jets last season. I don't think he's scored a touchdown since. So the ceiling is he's a legit number 2 receiver. He could be the long-term answer next to Garrett Wilson. The floor is that he's another Malachi Corley, another Elijah Moore, another highly drafted receiver who comes to the Jets and bottoms out. So I think there's tons of ability. His question has always been, focus on and off the field. So if they can keep him in line off the field and focused on not dropping the ball on the field, then I think they'll get some plays. But more often than not, these guys are who they are. So my guess is you'll get some, for as long as he's here, you'll get some shikeys.
Holy cow.
Holy cow. Holy
cow.
Yeah, some holy cow plays, and you'll get some head scratchers.
All right. And, when you look at the fact that the Colts were kind of quick to move off of him. How much concern is that for you? Because you mentioned Malachi Corley. We heard a lot about him, and then we saw the Jets move on from him very quickly after he dropped the ball before he got in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some concern in that, but again, it's not anything that wasn't known about him coming out of the draft. That's why he fell to the second round. He was a first round physical talent. So I don't think it should be a surprise to the Colts. I don't think it should be a surprise to the Jets if they did their homework on him, the pass regime and the scouts that are still there. But I also think that the Colts have an incredibly deep receiver core. So they didn't have a cornerback. Would you have felt more comfortable if they gave up 2 firsts and a third, or 2 firsts and a fourth? Like they ended up giving up a player instead, held on to their draft pick, and they have a receiver core with Michael Pittman and Alex Pierce and guys like that, where A.D. Mitchell was like their 5th receiver. So no one would complain if most teams give up their 5th receiver. It just happens to be that their 5th receiver was a former second-round pick.
Yeah, he was expendable there. All right, so let's talk about Mechie. We've discussed him previously here. Obviously the injury history, the health scares that he's had. I'm a big fan of the guy. I think that he has a lot of upside. But the thing is, who knows if he's even going to be here next year? So what are the Jets looking for, I guess, down the stretch from him to see if he is going to come back, if they want to bring him back next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think consistency. That's what the Jets have been missing. That was, he hasn't had a lot of it for all the reasons you named in his career, but that is who he's supposed to be, a pretty consistent player. So yeah, I think that's, he was wide open. The defensive back fell down. He made the catch and scored the touchdown, right? He didn't drop the ball. He didn't make it a circus. I think he had 3 catches for 45 yards. Like, the Jets just need somebody to be reliable, to run the right route, to be in the right place, to make the catch when the ball's thrown to him. Like, that's what they need. They don't have a lot of that, which is it's fundamental stuff. They need this. I hate when people use this term, but it's what it means. They need a professional receiver, and that's what John Mechie should be. So yeah, I would be who knows what prices are or whatnot, but I would be looking to start midterm length relationship with John Mechie.
Okay. All right. One guy who has been reliable for them and then seemingly gets forgotten by the team, we talk about him, I feel like, every week here, is Breece Hall. And after he was called the workhorse by Aaron Glenn, he didn't get so much work on Thursday. So how much of that comes from the fact that it's a Thursday game after a game where he just had as many touches as he did? And how much of that is just the Jets failing to figure out how to use this guy in the passing game and the right balance at this point?
Yeah, I think it's all things, right? I mean, it's a Thursday game. They were playing from behind most of it. 14, I think he had 4. It's not like he had 14 carries. It's not like they, started handing the ball to somebody else. Isaiah Davis only had 2. So they just didn't run the ball. And then Justin Fields had 11 carries. They just didn't run the ball with their backs that much. What you said on at the end, Joe, is I think an important point going forward. They need to get much more out of Breece Hall in the passing game. It's not about the running game. You're taking a 2-dimensional back and making him 1-dimensional. You can't do that. I think that that's something that if he's back here next season, I can't imagine it's going to change over the next 7 weeks, but if he's back here next season, if whoever the coordinator is, if it's Tanner or if it's somebody else, they need to figure out a way where Breece Hall isn't just a check down receiver, where he's an actual targeted receiver on wheel routes and mismatches in the slot.
It's funny we started the show talking about a dual threat quarterback. You got a dual threat running back out here, and we're only using kind of one of his abilities out there. But if you're the current regime and you decide, okay, we are going to bring Breece back, are you trying to lighten the load for the remainder of the season if you know he's going to be here next year? Because you say you want to win every game, but that's gone out the window at this point, right? You're evaluating talent. You're looking toward next year. So do you kind of pull back on him to make sure he's healthy?
I don't think I would do that. No, I mean, at some point you need to put a competitive product out. Like we just talked about how we're putting Tyrod in to evaluate guys. Well, now it's going to be hard to evaluate them if I don't have a strong run game with Brees. I'm easing off Brees, but I'm asking Mason Taylor to give everything he's got, or I'm asking, or I'm, asking, or I'm trying to evaluate my offensive line, but I'm doing it without my best running back. Like, no, I'm kind of the opinion that, look, if he's nursing something, I'm not forcing him out there,
Right.
But if we're talking about a guy who's just, regular banged up like every football player, then no, I'm not easing off him. Plus,
I know.
you don't have any guarantee he's going to be here next year. So
That's true. Well, that's true. They can throw the franchise tag on him, which would then kind of force the hand a little bit there.
But that doesn't mean he's going to be happy about that. So
that's true. And then he might sit out and hold out.
Yeah.
Yep. Which, we'll see how that goes. But God, it would be just, I don't even want to put it out there. Jets fans know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not. All right. So let's talk about the defense here, because it clearly looked like this team was missing Sauce Gardner in the secondary. And I know they had some other injuries they're dealing with. They've got basically practice squad players out there. But Jarvis Brownlee didn't back off this. He was taking accountability after the game. Here's what he said about the play from the secondary.
We didn't play to our standard. All the miscommunication out there. Guys not on the same page. Ain't got nothing to do with the coaching style. I had 3 penalties. And I gotta control what I control. And I don't think I feel like I played the game. And I gotta step up to the plate. And I'm self-aware, so I'm always on up to my mistakes. And if I feel like I played bad, when I go watch the film, I know it probably ain't gonna look that bad. But to me, if you got 3 penalties out of defensive back, that's terrible.
You take the accountability at this point. That's refreshing. I mean, you don't hear too many guys doing that. There's a lot of diffusion. And he's even saying, if I look good on tape, I still wasn't good. Because a lot of guys will tell you, I got to go watch the tape, or it wasn't that bad, or you don't know what you're looking at. First of all, how refreshing is it to have a guy like that on a team like this?
Love it. And it's from a young player who the Titans already gave up on. To love it. I think that's very important. It's very easy to say, want to watch the tape. I think the officials missed that one. It's an all 11 thing. No, I love that level of accountability, and I know that Aaron Glenn does too.
All right. So that being said, there were still wide receivers running wide open in the Jets secondary. He talked about the blown coverages, the miscommunication out there. Is this simply a symptom of getting rid of your best cornerback?
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens, right? I mean, like, there's a reason Sauce Gardner, and everybody wants to nitpick Sauce Gardner's game. He doesn't get enough picks or whatever. But then you take him out and you see, like, oh, okay, like it can get worse. Like, So I think that's a big part of it. You lost your best defensive back. You lost a guy who knows where to be at all times, who communicates with everybody else. Yeah, I mean, you got significantly worse, and so you played significantly worse. I don't think it's it's Latin that you're trying to figure out. Like they got with the pass rush is going to get worse too without Quinnen Williams.
It's all Greek to me. I believe is what they say. Listen, thanks for trying to make sense of all the Greek that exists around the Jets this year, because without you translating each and every week, I don't know how we'd be getting through this season. But you make it a little bit easier, Ryan Dunleavy, and for that, I appreciate you.
Thanks, Joe. That's nice.
It's not quite the hug from Woody Johnson, but it's the closest I can get when you're on Zoom. Hey, that's going to do it for this edition of the Gang Green Blitz. Ryan Dunleavy will be back next week to try and soften the blow that is the 2025 Jets season. We will talk to you next week, everybody. Until then, good luck. Go Jets, I guess.